Sergeant James Doakes is definitely one of the most compelling and tragic characters in the Dexter universe. We know he met an untimely demise at the hands of Lila Tourney, but there was so much more to his life that made him a fan favorite. Let's take a look at the entire story of James Doakes. Doakes' work in early years showed the intense sense of justice he had, as well as an unmistakable propensity for violence. He originally joined the Army as a special ops officer and was involved in a number of black ops missions during his time there. Those missions meant that he had to routinely confront and kill dangerous people as assigned. They also took a heavy toll on his mental health and left him with severe PTSD. After years of killing people, Doakes began to break down and needed a change of pace. He almost killed his own wife, and he became very hardened and angry. Still, that early training made him incredibly effective as a police officer after he left the Army to join Miami Metro. In fact, after years of service in the military, when Doakes transitioned out of the Army and joined the Miami Metro Police Department, he quickly rose through the ranks and became a sergeant in no time. His military background provided him with a unique skill set, making him an important asset to the department. He was cunning, highly perceptive, athletic, and had a strong sense of justice. Unfortunately, he also had a volatile attitude and unhealthy tendency to resort to violence against suspects. As a result, he was investigated by Internal Affairs on more than one occasion, which earned him a few marks due to findings of excessive force violations.
Whoa! You think it's a coincidence your ass is in here?
Still, despite the concerns from IA, Doakes' commitment to his role as a cop and a detective, and his unwavering determination to help others, kept his position in the department on lock. Even then, his intimidating ways and no-nonsense attitude,
and wanting to blindfold a trauma victim, what were you thinking?
Led him to create strained relationships with many of his colleagues. Doakes was unafraid to confront those who crossed him or his team. For example, when Carlos Guerrero was suspected to have called a hit on Officer Ricky Simmons and his wife,
Ricky and Kara had a family too.
Doakes chased him down. Guerrero was a powerful drug lord with unending criminal connections in the Miami area. Doakes was personally scarred by the loss because he was in a relationship with Simmons' wife, Kara, at the time of her death. He became obsessed with bringing Guerrero in after she died in the hospital following the attack. To catch him, Doakes bypassed protocol, tailing Guerrero without warrants, and even went so far as to confront the thug in broad daylight. Captain LaGuerta warned Doakes about his behavior, but Doakes wouldn't back off. He was convinced that Guerrero was guilty. Doakes harassed Guerrero's associates, pressing them for information through intimidation.
It's a dangerous world, Guerrero.
Even during official interrogations. He even followed Guerrero to his daughter's confirmation. He exposed the fact that Guerrero was a killer to his own child. And though this infuriated Guerrero,
It's okay. My church, in front of my family.
Doakes remained steadfast. Eventually, Guerrero got too cocky and tried to kill Doakes for complicating his life and disrupting his operations. But he was ambushed by Miami Metro cops just as he drew his gun and was brought in to finally answer for his crimes. Doakes lived to see another day, but this case only highlighted how far Doakes was willing to go to get his man. Unfortunately, his next major target was Dexter. Of course, Doakes and Dexter first crossed paths while the two worked together at Miami Metro. Dexter as a forensic analyst specializing in blood spatter, Doakes as a detective and eventually sergeant, making him Dexter's superior. They worked plenty of cases together over the years, but never managed to warm up to one another. After all, Dexter is a serial killer, and James knew there was something wrong with him.
Are you following me now?
You better have a hell of a reason for being here.
Dexter was able to maintain a facade that usually shielded him from any suspicion of those around him, but unfortunately for Dex, Doakes was not so easily deceived. From their very first interaction, Doakes had a bad feeling about Dexter. He sensed that there was more to Dexter than he let on. His suspicions only grew as Dexter's behavior became more and more strange. Before you watch any further, I'm happy to finally announce that I'm releasing the first limited drop of my t-shirts. At the start, there are only 100 available, so make sure you buy them while you can at dtmerch.store. Enjoy the video. Doakes saw Dexter's odd habits and noted inconsistencies that everyone else overlooked with ease. His instincts told him that Dexter was hiding something dark, and as time went on, He was determined to find out what it was, but Dexter was an incredibly private man for obvious reasons, so the more Doakes dug into his life, the angrier Dexter became. This marked the beginning of their incredibly adversarial relationship, and in the end would lead to Doakes' downfall. The tension between Doakes and Dexter reached a boiling point during Miami Metro's investigation of the Ice Truck Killer, an elusive serial killer who dismembered his victims and left their body parts in public places. As we now know, it's revealed that the Ice Truck Killer, or ITK, was Dexter's biological brother, Brian Moser. But he'd been going under the assumed name of Rudy Cooper for years to avoid detection. The motivation for his murders and the placement of his victims' bodies was to get Dexter's attention and jog his memory of their time together as children. Though an adept killer himself, Dexter didn't know any of this at the time and was stuck not only unwittingly investigating his own brother, but also trying to cover his tracks from Doakes' ever-watchful eye. Doakes became completely convinced that Dexter was withholding crucial information about the Ice Truck Killer case. He felt it in his bones after Dexter's sister, Deb, was kidnapped by Brian and taken to an undisclosed location. Deb was dating Rudy at the time.
I feel that I waited my whole entire life for you. And now that you're here, I don't want you to leave.
But again, no one knew then that Rudy was actually Brian and a deranged, murderous fraud. Doakes' continued attempts to expose Dexter's secrets eventually resulted in the two battling it out at the very shipping yard Dexter was found in as a child. He was determined to finally uncover what Dexter had been hiding for so long. Doakes still didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle, but he tracked Dexter to that shipping yard and confronted him about why he was searching for his sister in a cargo box.
I'm looking for my sister.
In a cargo box?
Yeah, I'm kind of working on a theory.
You forget you work for the fucking cops? We love theories. Come on, spin me a story, asshole.
What I do in my time is my business, Sergeant.
Yeah, me too.
Dexter made a joke, and Doakes attacked Dexter then and there. But Dexter was a skilled fighter. He fought Doakes off and was able to walk away unscathed. Still, Doakes was far from done. Even with all of this going on, Dexter maintained a level head while at work and carefully navigated the investigation into ITK and was able to keep his own secrets hidden from Doakes for just a bit longer. But that would change very soon. Eventually, the police called up with Rudy and they learned that he was actually the former mental patient Brian Moser. Meanwhile, Brian led Dexter to the place where he had trapped Deb and tried to convince his younger brother to join him in killing her. But Dexter didn't want to kill Deb. He told Brian that he was fond of her, and when Brian tried to stab Deb himself right in front of Dexter, Dexter reacted immediately and fought him off of his sister. Miami Metro was still hot on the trail as well. The force tracked them to the exact location and burst into the room just as Brian was able to escape. Although Brian got away, Dexter had just saved Deb's life. But Doakes was not impressed at all. He was still very skeptical and refused to trust Dexter's explanation for being at the location before the police were. Doakes felt deep down that Dexter knew more about the case than he was telling them. After the conclusion of the Ice Truck Killer case, Doakes' personal investigation into Dexter officially began. Throughout season 2, Doakes followed Dexter like a bloodhound. He tailed him every day after work and wouldn't let him out of his sight. Determined more than ever to expose Dexter, Doakes relentlessly delved into Dexter's past, wanting more than ever to uncover any incriminating evidence. His desire for the truth started to border on obsession. It drove him to take dangerous risks, more and more, both in and out of work. Eventually, that obsession led Doakes to attack Dexter right in the office. But Dexter, ever the meticulous planner, was always one step ahead. He had manipulated the situation to his advantage to frame Doakes. He staged the fight with Doakes to make him look insane and get him suspended from work. When Doakes confronted Dexter in his office that day, Dexter stood up to him and headbutted him before strolling out of his office as if nothing had happened. Doakes ran after him, tackled Dexter to the ground, and started punching him in front of everyone.
I want your gun, your badge, and your police ID.
In the end, Dexter's plan worked. Doakes was suspended on the spot, but that only freed him up to stalk Dexter even more closely. The turning point in Doakes' investigation came when he discovered the evidence he had been looking for. He was on the cusp of linking Dexter to the Bay Harbor butcher case. Following his own instincts, Doakes broke into Dexter's apartment during his suspension and found the bloodslide collection hidden in the air conditioning unit. This discovery disturbed Doakes, but it verified what he had always suspected. There was something deeply wrong with Dexter, and he had been fooling everyone around him for years. The blood-slides, coupled with all of the other circumstantial evidence and his own gut feeling, led Doakes to the conclusion that Dexter wasn't just some dorky forensic analyst, but possibly a killer. Having already appeared unstable at work, both Doakes and Dexter knew that simply showing up with a box of blood slides wouldn't be enough to take him down. So Doakes went to have the blood slides analyzed by an old colleague in Haiti to see if they matched the victims in the Bay Harbor butcher case. But before Doakes could turn the slides over to his friend, the FBI intercepted him and took the blood slides from the trunk of his car. After that, Doakes looked like he was actually the butcher and officially became a man on the run. He had to prove that Dexter was the butcher, if for nothing else, to at least clear his own name. That led to their final showdown at a cabin in the Everglades, where Doakes caught Dexter in the act. The cat and mouse game between the two reached a head at the cabin. There, Dexter had just taken out his latest victim. He'd killed Santos Jimenez, a man who had participated in the murder and dismemberment of his mother when he was only 3 years old. Armed with the knowledge of Dexter's once hidden blood slides, Doakes followed him to the cabin. He found the body bags just as Dexter was trying to load them onto his boat. Doakes tried to cuff Dexter and bring him in. With Doakes finally onto him, it seemed to mark the end of Dexter's days as a killer.
I always knew there was something with you, but this shit...
What can I say? You were right about me.
But Dex was agile, resourceful, and determined to stay free. He used his awareness of the area and his killer instincts to his advantage and attacked Doakes. Doakes got a shot off, wounding Dexter, but he still managed to subdue Doakes and lock him away in the very cabin where he killed Jimenez. Then, while Doakes was trapped, Dexter planned his next move. During his captivity, Doakes tried to reason with Dexter.
We'll do it together. I'll go with you. Come on, let's go.
He urged Dexter to turn himself in, believing that it was the only way forward and the right thing to do. Despite his pleas, Dexter was still unwilling to go to jail. He knew that Doakes was a huge threat to the life that he had so carefully constructed, but Dexter was conflicted, knowing that he couldn't kill Doakes. It would be against the code his father had given him so many years ago to never kill an innocent. Doakes may have been a nuisance, plus he killed plenty of people in the line of duty, but technically he still didn't fit the code. So Dexter planned to frame Doakes one last time, this time as the Bay Harbor butcher. He just wanted to continue his life as usual, and that meant that Doakes had to go away. Sadly, Dexter would never get the chance to follow through with his plan. As Doakes sat locked in a cage in that cabin, Lila Tournay, Dexter's ex-lover and an addict with her own dark urges, found him. She'd stolen a GPS from Dexter's car to figure out where he had been going since they broke up. She went there on her own to figure out what he could have possibly been up to in such a remote location. She broke into the cabin, and when he saw her, Doakes told her that Dexter was the butcher and begged her to free him.
He's the butcher.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
But he didn't know who he was dealing with. When she learned that Dexter was in fact the Bay Harbor butcher, Lila still wanted to protect him. She didn't want to help Doakes turn Dexter in, and she knew that Doakes would hurt Dexter, who she called her soulmate, if he ever got out of that cage. In a shocking twist, she turned on the stove and opened up a gas valve. As the fire started, Lila ran from the cabin and locked Doakes inside. Just as she was out of harm's way, the entire cabin went up in flames. It exploded, killing Doakes instantly and scattering debris everywhere. His death was grisly, but Lila looked on in awe. She was truly disturbed. The discovery of the explosion surprised Dexter. He knew it was wrong, but it also eliminated the only significant threat to his life. He eventually learned that it must have been Lila who was responsible for Doakes' death and decided to track her down. Lila fled the country, But that wasn't going to stop Dexter from putting her down for killing an innocent man and wreaking havoc in his life otherwise. He found her in Paris and explained that he knew she had killed Doakes. He was not swayed by her claims that she did it to protect him. Killing Doakes was wrong, and Dexter didn't want to live with the guilt of being associated with his death, at least not without avenging it. He killed Lila and disposed of her corpse to wipe that slate clean once and for all. In the wake of Doakes' death, the investigation into the Bay Harbor butcher case was effectively over. The FBI already suspected Doakes as the butcher, and the evidence they found at the cabin all but confirmed those suspicions. Dexter did not mourn the loss of Doakes' life. In fact, he felt freer than ever. He was happy that he could finally close that chapter and continue to live the fake life he had worked so hard to create. Though Doakes had come close to understanding him, Dexter knew that his death was the only way he could move on without any more problems. But Doakes' legacy lives on because of the impact he had on Dexter. His unending pursuit of justice, coupled with his horrible death, were probably the first times that Dexter was forced to confront his own actions and reckon with their consequences. Even though Doakes' death rid Dexter of a direct threat, it served as an ever-present reminder that the perfectly constructed fake world he lived in could be taken away in the blink of an eye. In a nutshell, Doakes' story painted an interesting juxtaposition to Dexter's. His life and death posed an interesting question about what it actually means to be a hero and what is truly acceptable in the pursuit of justice.